The war on drugs will go down in history as the most racist crusades in slavery. Thor Benson.
Okay.
Alright. Hello. My name is Alexandria Love, and I'm a junior political science major at Oklahoma State University. And today I will be discussing why marijuana should be legalized on the federal level. I will give you some history about the war on drugs and its relation to marijuana, as well as the benefits of marijuana that include how it will be helpful to the economy, how it has already been helpful to the economy, also how it is relatively safe as a drug, and how it is a helpful aid to the body. Moving on, here's a little background about the war on drugs. The war on drugs was a global initiative started by President Richard Nixon during the 20th century. He wanted to pretty much criminalize drug usage and drug transmission. He wanted to discourage drug usage, and he thought that drug abuse was the #1 enemy of the state. Now we know that drug abuse is normally an addiction rather than something that should be criminalized. So moving on, I'm going to explain some of the ramifications of the war on drugs. 1/5 of the incarcerated population are in jail right now for drug charges. A lot of them are non-violent offenders. People of color account for 70% of these defendants convicted with drug charges, and this is because, as we know, the war on drugs was racist. It hurt brown and black communities oftentimes more than not, and it cost the United States nearly $1 trillion. So if we think about how much money that is, our minds can't even comprehend how much money we lost as a country due to trying to push such a heinous way of combating drug abuse. And this is our picture about the war on drugs. Like I said, we spent $1 trillion on the drug war. $1.6 million. There was 1.6 million drug arrests in 2010, and that's not that long ago. That was 11 years ago. So think about how that is still impacting our society today. And 8 million people were arrested for marijuana usage since 2000, and that's a lot considering marijuana is not really a bad drug per se. If we were to legalize marijuana, we have already seen the positive effects of how it has impacted the economy. According to a newspaper in Colorado, their economy has boomed. It is recreational there, but as we see in Oklahoma, marijuana is a marketable business, and it has really helped the economy here, since it is legal as a medicinal aid. So that is one positive effect of how it will help the economy boom. Weed is relatively safe. It's also a common misconception that marijuana is a gateway drug and it'll lead to other drug uses, but that's not so. It's been found, scientifically proven, that people who use marijuana first are normally predisposed to try other drugs. So it's not necessarily marijuana. I don't want to say they were going to start somewhere, but that's where they started, is that marijuana. But so it's not necessarily a gateway drug. It has more to do with the person and how they are. It's not, and marijuana, it does not have any long-term negative effects that we know of, other than the fact that, of course, it makes you a little forgetful. That's probably one of the big things. Other than that, if you're not allergic or have any issues with marijuana, you're not going to face any of these issues. And we found that marijuana is helpful for individuals that have tried harsher drugs. This is a drug that it's lessened, so it's easier for them to transition from harder drugs to leave harder drugs alone. So it's not, like I said, it's not as harsh. It's safer. It's a safer alternative to stronger drugs that we should have been concerned with during the war on drugs. But of course, that was just a time to criminalize and harm brown and black people. Moving on, it is a helpful body aid. It's good for your nerves. It is good for people with nervous disorder. I have an anxiety disorder, and I think it is very helpful. It assists with, like I said, people with epilepsy and all different kinds of disorders and diseases. It's a helpful aid for those fighting cancer. And it is a wonderful sleep aid. There are so many positive effects to marijuana and how it is great for the holistic treatment of your entire body. And here is a little recap. The war on drugs has been harmful to communities of color, like most drugs, and it'll be helpful to the economy. It's relatively safe, and it is an amazing body aid. Thank you. And here's my references. Thank you guys for listening.
Oh, we like your.
Yeah.
You have to go.